Hello and welcome to this new codeLive episode. My name is Philippe Ozil. I'm a developer advocate at Salesforce, and it's my great pleasure to introduce today AgentScript. So this is really the week of AgentScript. Yesterday you had the AMA with my colleague Maud, and today we're going to be doing some hands-on with AgentScript. So, if you've heard about the news recently, we also announced on Monday the launch of our new sample app called AgentScript Recipes, and most of what we're going to cover today is going to be around the sample app. So, I'm going to give you a bit of a tour about AgentScript, and then we'll see some examples to get into it. First of all, I want to show you a couple of resources. I've compiled for you a set of resources, so I will share them again later on in the stream, but I can already give them to you right now. This here is a collection of resources for for a trail mix, sorry, that contains links to different resources. So you can grab those now. There's a short code to the trail mix. It contains links to documentation, to the sample app, and to many other things. All right. So let me now switch to the content because you're here to see some AgentScript. So here we go. What you're seeing here is the documentation page for AgentScript. The feature is currently beta, so bear in mind our forward-looking statement, which means basically you should not make any purchasing decisions based. You should only make purchasing decisions based on what is commercially available in the product at the moment and not on beta features. The feature will evolve a lot until GA. We haven't announced the date just yet, but it's likely going to be next year. Maybe for TDX, who knows? So for now, we're going to work with beta. If you're watching this recording, because this session is recorded, things may evolve, and some of the things I'm going to cover may be a bit different in the future. All right. So this is the documentation if you want to follow along and look at the documentation. Apart from this, we also have shared the new sample app, the AgentScript recipes. You can watch them also on our website. They're available on the Salesforce developers website, and you can find all of our recipe documentation on the website. And there's also a GitHub repository which contains all the data and metadata you need to get to those recipes. This is all included in the trail mix that I shared earlier, so you can grab them and you can deploy them. There's the whole set of requirements. I really recommend that you use a free developer edition to get started, and then after that, it's just a matter of reading the README to get started, and then you can dive into the multiple recipes. So that's it for the theory. Now let's get into more practical stuff, and I can jump into our new experience. So the first thing you'll notice is that whenever you have an org that supports it, you're going to be seeing a new Lightning app called Agentforce Studio. This is going to be the new experience to build agents, but not only that, it will also allow you to do a couple of more things. So when you get to this Lightning app, you have agents, which is the new builder. You have a shortcut to build tests. So this is for writing agent tests. You have also Prompt Builder, which is available through a link here. Some data cloud shortcuts to get access to data libraries, retrievers, search indexes, AI models. These were previously in also in data cloud. And further down, you have those two links, analytics and optimization. These are part of Agentforce observability. These are basically dashboards that let you monitor the performance of your agents. And these, everything on this page, apart from the agent tab here, work for both the old agents and the new agents. We're in a strange world where you have two builder experiences to create agents, and both of them are going to be running at the same time. You have the old agent builder, which is available from setup, and this new builder, which is now available only from Agentforce Studio. And you'll see that you'll be able to build agents in those two user interfaces for now. There's no announcement just yet about a transition plan between the old agent model and the new one, so they can coexist at the moment. We can certainly imagine that when we're going to near GA, someone will build a script to do the migration. It should be fairly easy because we're going to see that the new agent model is a bit more complex. So it's easier to go from something that is simpler to something that is more complex. All right, so let's now talk about our agents. So if it's the first time you're seeing this, you'll note that there are some restrictions, some limitations with the UI. The first thing you want to know is that you can only create agents at the moment as part of the beta. This is a strong limitation. You can't delete agents. So that can be a surprise, but I need to warn you about this. Let's take a look at the very basic example, the hello world example. And this will take us to the builder. This here is our new builder interface. You'll notice that compared to the previous experience, it has way less clicks. You'll be able to do things in a much more efficient manner. The UI is divided into three parts. At the center, there is really the part where you work. On the left side, you have the Explorer, which is basically a tree with your different resources. Here, there's not a lot because this is a fairly simple agent. And on the right side here, you have an assistant, the Agentforce assistant that helps you build your agent. So it's an agent that helps you build an agent. I know it's a bit meta, but it's pretty cool. It can help you figure out what the agent does. So for example, I can ask it summarize what the agent is doing, and it will give me a description of what the agent does. And it can do more than that. It can also help you build the agent. So you can ask it to edit the agent details, add more things, etc. Now, we've seen those three panels. There's also another important aspect to the new builder experience, sorry. It's the fact that you have two modes. You have the script mode for more technical builders, and you have a canvas mode, which is mainly geared at more declarative builders. So when you switch to canvas mode, you'll see, well, this is a bad example, but you'll see some user interface which is click driven. So you can work with a mix of click-based interface with the canvas, or you can work with code using script mode. So here, for example, if I were to select and navigate around, you'll see that I have various screens, which lets me configure my agents. I will not cover too much the canvas. We'll be working mainly with the script, but know that these two interfaces coexist, and you can do mostly the same thing with canvas, but script is for now still the most powerful way to edit the agent. So here I'll go on the top node of my tree in the Explorer. This is the root node, the agent script with all the script of my agent. So at any time I can collapse my side panels if I want to, and I can even zoom in a bit, but it's easier to see for everyone. So we can now talk about let's talk about the syntax. Every agent has a couple of mandatory blocks, and agent script syntax looks a bit like YAML. And it's a language that is structured based on white space. So these are spaces, and the structure of the language, the hierarchy, what basically maps to this tree here, are indented blocks. So there are a couple of major blocks that are required. The first one is the config block, which defines basic agent elements like the name of the agent, its label, and then basic description. There's also a username that is tied to the agent, and that's important because right now, at the moment, and this is probably going to evolve soon, agents only work with service agents. I mean, the agents built with this new builder experience are only Agentforce service agents. In the future, obviously, we'll support all the other types of agents, but for now, you need an agent user to back it up. And this is the username of my agent. Now, on top of below the config, there's also another mandatory block for all agents. That's the system block. The system block really also gives the agent some basic set of instructions, the basic error and welcome messages that you'll see in the conversation. And then you can provide some general instructions, and these are a bit like the goals in a previous builder experience. You can put high-level instructions here for the agent. And one thing here that is interesting in my agent here is that I've asked it to talk using poems. You'll see that it applies this across the multiple topics of the agent. You can override those instructions. There are recipes that will show you how to do this. We'll get back to that later. Then you have topics. So here in this agent, you have two topics. There is the start agent keyword here, which actually is the same as a topic, except this is the entry topic. And then there is a regular topic below. Both have the same structure. There's just this little keyword here that tells the agent that we're going to start with this one. The descriptions in particular this one here, is only for you as a human user. The agent doesn't use this. The agent will use reasoning instructions. So what's new with this new experience and the new hybrid reasoning engine basically is that you have several lifecycle hooks that you can use to provide instructions. There are a couple of hooks. There's a before reasoning, a reasoning, and an after reasoning hook. Most of the time, you'll be working with reasoning, and from there, you'll be able to provide instructions. Here, you'll notice a little pipe symbol here. That is because we have a multi-line set of instructions. So if you're just providing values in a single line, you'll just use double quotes all in line. And if you have something that is multi-line, you can use this pipe here, which lets us do multi-line. So here, for example, I could do this, which is perfectly valid. I'll just close a couple of tabs just to make it simple. There we go. So that's it for the instructions. Now, after that, you can specify which actions are available to the agent in this particular topic. Here we have created a begin greeting action, which is kind of a virtual action because it's not really a flow or an apex action. It's just a call to a transition to another topic. So there are certain keywords, and generally this starts with these @ symbols. The util transition keyword lets you switch between one topic and another. And then there is the add topic, which lets you refer to a topic. And we'll see later on, there are also variables we can use. And these are identified by some sort of namespace like this. The description here is can be used by the agent. It helps the agent understand what the begin greeting action can do. So we'll look at the instructions, and then the agent we'll call the begin greeting transition to the greeting topic here. And then you can see it's exactly the same structure as the topic selector. And there's a reasoning block here with some instructions. Now, this time, there's something new here. Not only do we have the pipe symbol, actually it's in the next line, but we also have this arrow symbol. Now, we're not really using it here, but the arrow symbol here lets us inject some variables, and we'll see that later on. It helps us to put some dynamic content in the instructions. So here, whether you have this error or not doesn't really matter because there's nothing really dynamic in there. All right. So yes, start agent is a topic on its own. It's just that the agent needs to have one entry point, and that's the way to designate the entry point. But in terms of syntax, this is just the same as writing topic. You just need to have a mandatory start agent at some point. Once you're happy with your code, with your agent, you can go into preview mode and you can try your agents. Now, I will say one thing. Obviously, agent script is very exciting, but another thing that is also quite exciting is this new preview experience. It's way better than the previous builder because you'll see there's way more information and it's easier to use in terms of debug. So I'm just going to kickstart a conversation. Just saying hi. And what happens now, and that is going to be interesting, is looking at the interaction details panel. We're going to see a number of things that are going to happen. There's going to be a number of steps in the interaction details, and then you're going to see the transitions between the topics. So what we saw here is that we moved to the greeting. We were in the topic selector topic, and then we moved to the greeting topic. And that's the power of the new builder and the new reasoning engine. You can navigate between topics. Topics are no longer siloed like they were in the previous builder. You were starting a conversation, you were going into a single topic. Now you can navigate between those topics. And the fact that it's built as a graph really allows a lot of flexibility. So here, for example, if I were to click on this link here, I would open the trace panel, which is also extremely powerful because you can now track variables dynamically as the conversation goes. You'll see that there are variables. You can see how they evolved. You can also see the list of available actions, all of these things. Now, the Hello World agents obviously is very simple, so we won't see much here for now, but it's a good start to get a sense of what's available. We'll get back to this preview experience and the debugging when we get to more complex agents, when there are conditions, when there are variables. I think it's going to be very interesting. That's the first agent I want to show you, the Hello World agent. That's good for a first tour. Now, there's another way to build agent using this new experience, that is using the developer tools. So let me switch very quickly to Visual Studio Code. Here I have retrieved my AgentScript recipes repository. I've downloaded it locally. And what you'll see is that I have installed a number of extensions, and there's a new extension called AgentScript that is not yet part of the Salesforce extension pack. I believe it will be added later on. But this here and the latest version of Agentforce DX, these two extensions with the latest versions, let you write and test AgentScript within Visual Studio Code. So that's pretty cool. So I suggest you try those out. So now if I go in my repository, you'll see, for example, the Hello World example we saw earlier. This is my agent. And here we have an AI offering bundle, which is the metadata that holds the agent definition. If I click on my Hello World agent, you'll see my agent script for the agent that we just saw a couple of minutes ago in our builder. Now, what's nice is that we have syntax coloring, and we have all the nice user interface of our agent, of our builder, sorry, to edit our agent. But it goes a bit beyond this. What's pretty cool now is that you can also do this. You can use this new tile here, the Agentforce TX tile in the sidebar here. And from there, you can actually preview your agent. So here I can run, for example, a live test. And I can talk to my agent from directly from Visual Studio Code without having to switch to deploy my agent. Now, this is pretty much the same as the builder experience from Agentforce Builder, except you're now in Visual Studio Code, and you do have access to some things like the tracer. You can see the session, you can see the different phases. It's not as rich, I would say, as the debug and trace panel in the web browser, but it's still a good way to try things, and it's, I think, very powerful because it saves you from doing back and forth with the web browser. So it's pretty cool. So that's a quick view of the tools that you can use to build agents. I'm gonna pause for a second. I know there are a lot of questions. I saw them pop up on my chat. I couldn't stop to answer them, but I'm gonna take a quick break to start looking at those questions. So let me just quickly rewind a bit the conversation, try to see if I can answer some of these questions. All right, so well, where are we? Let's see. So yeah, there's something I already covered, but I think it's worth for me to cover it again. I saw multiple people asking this question. The two builders will coexist, so the two ways to build agents will coexist for now, and you'll still be able to run the old agents in parallel of building on the new ones. For now, there's no particular license required. Both of them are using the same license, and they can run in parallel. At some point, when we near GA, we will probably provide you with a script to migrate from the old agent structure to the new one. This is, I mean, this is technically possible. I don't see any blockers to do that because the new agent structure with AgentScript is way more flexible, so this should be feasible. You still define actions, by the way, mostly in the same way as in the old builder. We'll get back to that later. But there's really no blocker to move on to the new new agent script with some automation at some point. Again, some restrictions about agent script. We're still in a beta phase, so some things are moving. User interface will evolve. For now, we're limited only to service agents. That's the first limitation. And the second important limitation is that you're not allowed, you don't have user interface to delete an agent. So that can be kind of a blocker if you have a demo org and you're spinning up agents like I am. It can be a bit of a pain. You can't delete those agents for now. This will be fixed. There's probably going to be a patch at some point which will address this. It's a known issue. And there are a couple of minor bugs, but this is a beta, so I guess we'll have to deal with this. It's not fully stable yet, but you can still get to very interesting scenarios. Let me see if there are other questions now. So I answered the question about topic selector. Yes, topic selector is the name when you look at my script. topic selector is the name of my topic. I could pick any name here. It's just kind of a convention. What's important is that we have the start agent keyword. I could call it first topic. It doesn't matter. I do need the start agent keyword. The name of the topic is just topic selected as a convention. Generally, the first topic you enter with the agent is something that will basically let you tell the agent in which direction to go. So that's why we call it topic selector. But you could imagine a case where you have multiple topics that are chained together in a more linear way. It's really up to you. You can certainly chain topics, yes, and you can. You don't really have to order them. The order of the topics in the documentation is not relevant. You'll see that you have conditions that lets you call those transitions, and we'll see those deterministic elements which let you put conditions on transitions. That's precisely what's new with this new hybrid reasoning engine. So yes, more agent types are coming. For now, this is just service agent. All right. Let me see. Cool. All right. I think I'm gonna go on and move forward with move on with the presentation. Just making sure I haven't forgotten any major question. All right. So for now, yes, this is. I will address one more question that is in the chat. This looks very verbose. I agree with someone in the chat. This is something that will grow. For now, the agent structure is a bit monolithic. I will agree with that. Basic agent still takes about 50 lines of code. There's still a lot of documentation in there. It will grow, and for now, I would say something that may be a limitation in the future is that you cannot break down the agent into multiple files. In the previous experience, it was maybe too broken down into too many files, but now it's only one file. Okay, moving back to recipes, I want to show you some more advanced things. I'll go with the builder, but again, remember that you can do all of this with Visual Studio Code as well. So we saw the basic Hello World agent. I'm going to go and talk about another agent, and I want to introduce you template expressions. Template expressions are really a game changer in the way you build those agents because this lets you bring in some determinism in the way you build agents. So same structure as before, you have those system blocks, config blocks. You notice here, but I think I've switched the order of these two. It doesn't really matter. The order is not that important. Whether the system block is coming before config, as long as they're both here, it's fine. Now, there's a new block, which is optional, which is going to be very important in this agent as the variables block. Just like you could do variables in the previous agent builder, you can do also variables here, except you're going to be able to do much more with those variables. So here in this agent, the template expression agent, we're basically allowing the user to browse products and to add them to their cart. And so for this, we have a number of variables: the customer name, the budget, the cart items, the total amount of items in the cart, and some loyalty points. Now, you'll notice a few things. There's first the variable name, then there's this mutable keyword. Here, you only see mutable variables. These are variables that can be edited and that can be manipulated by the agent. There's another keyword here, which is, I forgot, I think it's linked, if I remember well. Or no, it's context. And these are context variables provided outside of the agent. For example, if you imagine you're in a service cloud or a Meow deployment, you can grab things like the session ID and these kind of things with those context variables. But mutable variables are the ones you're going to be working with mainly because these are the ones that you can modify and read in a script. You'll see that there's a set of basic types, string, numbers, and you can set up default values. All right, moving further down, you have your start agent. Once more, I've kept the same name by default, topic selector. Again, you can use other names. And here, just like the previous one, we don't do much in this topic selector. We directly jump to the next topic, which is our shopping assistant. Now, this one here, I think it's a bit more complex. It's also more rich. We can do more things with that. So most of our logic for this agent is in here. You'll notice again the instructions with the little arrow symbol. This is something that tells the agent that we can use some sort of templatized strings. Then we have the pipe symbol, which tells us that we are multi-line. And then you can see the first things that are interesting that bring some determinism to the agent. These are conditions. Now, the instructions that are provided to the agent here are not just a single block of text. These are assembled dynamically, and we are using variable values with conditions to check and build the instructions dynamically. So for example, the first time we enter this topic, the agent name, the customer name is not yet provided. So we have a first condition here, which, for example, tells the agent to ask the user for their name to personalize the experience. If the name is already provided, well, they know that they can use the name. Here we have the template syntax. Templates are defined by this expression style. These are curly brackets with exclamation mark and then the value within it. So here we use variables. You can also refer to actions within the blocks here. And so we're building this kind of a logic here, checking with basic value for the budget. If we don't have a value, we just say not set. If we have a value, we add it to the agent instructions, and we go down further. Same logic here. And then we have some more complex conditions. You can see that we can build some more interesting things. For example, if we have a cart total that exceeds our budget, and we have defined a budget, then we can just notify the agent that we have exceeded our budget by a certain number. Now, what's interesting is that we have also some arithmetic operations here. For example, you can do a subtraction. You can also do additions as well. And then you have some basic hard-coded instructions and some other instructions. Now, this agent is a bit more powerful than the Hello World agent because it has additional actions. So here, these are pointers to the instructions, to the agent actions that can be used. And below, there's another action block at the same level as the topic. As a child of the topic. And the action block here will give us the full definition of the action. So here, these are action instances that point to these action definitions. So here, for example, the add to cart here refers to the add to cart here. We could use another name here, but the first name we use here is for the expression, and the second name here is mapping to the definition. Now, why did we do this twice? The reason why we did this twice is that if I scroll down further, the action definition points to the definition of the action, really. So here, for example, this one is a flow, and this one is a flow, but you could have also apex. And this is what you used to have in the old builder. It's really the action definition with the labels, with the instructions, the input and output parameters. Now, what's above here is the instance of the action you're calling in the topic. And you'll see that we have some certain keywords here, like with and set. These are the way to set up the input and output parameters. So when you have with item name equals three little dots, it means that the three little dots here means that we let the agent figure out what it needs to provide as an item name. We could also have a variable like we have here for this other action. We can refer to a variable to force the value for our input parameter. And then if we want to collect outputs of our action, we can use set. And here that's what we did. We called set, we assigned a variable to a value that is part of the outputs. And so new total here is name of the output parameter of our add to cart action. That's how you do the mapping between the actions that are being used here and the action definitions that exist as metadata, the flows, actually, the two flows. So let's see it in action. I'm going to switch now to preview and we can try it out. This reminds me that I didn't cover one of the questions that was in the chat, and I think it's fairly important to cover it now. There are two modes you can use the preview in. There is the live mode and there is the simulation mode. Live mode will use real data, so you can actually read real data and modify real data. And then there's a simulation mode, which will fake all the actions and the flows, the apex that is being called. The agent will invent things for you. So this is pretty convenient because sometimes you don't want to mess with your data and you just want to simulate the logic of your agent without modifying data. All right, for some reason my agent is not waking up, so let me just refresh. I hope I'm not. Try again. Sometimes it happens that the chat is not triggered, so let's see. All right, let's see. I guess something is wrong. Well, that's a demo. Obviously, it has to fail at some point. But normally, I should be able to chat with my agents. So if this doesn't work, I can try with Visual Studio Code. That'll be a good way to show that we have multiple tools. All right, let me try this agent with the new builder. Let's see, will it work better there? As this load, I'm going to open the agent file so we can see it side by side. All right, yes, this one works at least. So this is, remember, this is an agent, but is a kind of a shopping assistant, and it will ask me what I want to shop for. And once I do this, it's going to redirect me to the shopping assistant topic. From there, it's going to parse the different instructions of the reasoning, and it's going to ask me for my name, and it will ask me also for a budget. So this is because customer name is not set and budget is not set. So it will ask me for those two things. So what I can do now, I can just tell him I'm Phil and my budget. All right, I'm going to put something high. So once we do this, we're going to assign the variables. So if we're going back to the agent tracer, we could see what's going on in the conversation. So let me go back. The first iteration. That's the first one. We said I want to shop for a laptop. You could see that the agent sent us to the shopping assistant topic. And then if we go further down, I want to show you something. The variables that is being updated, the agent script conditions are being executed. And just before we end up, we're going to see here, actually, no, that's not the one I want to show you. I know how to show it in the, let's see. It's easier to see in the builder, but I want to show you that basically the, yes, here, that's the one. So what you're seeing here is the reasoning instructions which are being updated dynamically. And there's the past value, the new value. And each time we resolve one of these expressions, we're updating the instruction. So if I look at this line here, it's not very easy to read, I'm afraid, in this user interface, but you can see the syntax, the sentence here, you're helping a new customer. It means that we didn't go into this branch here. We didn't have a customer name, so we went into the second branch here. And if we go further down, you can see current shopping session, budget not set. It means that we went into the second branch here, our budget was not set. And this is a good example of how you can debug how the agent is reasoning, because it's assembling some instructions live. I wish I could show you this in the agent builder UI, because it's a bit easier to read, but you get the point. Behind the scenes, the agent is updating those instructions, and it's building its reasoning instructions before going into this reasoning phase when it has the full context. After that, it will direct me to the other topic. Now, if you go to the second utterance, the second exchange I had with my agent, I give it my name and my budget, and at this point, well, I guess something went wrong because it did not save my variables. It should have gone into the shopping assistant topic, and it should have assigned those variables for me. Here, that's clearly missing. there should be some steps that do this. Let's still try to continue and see if they can provide me with some recommendations. So I'm going to ask a recommendation for a laptop and see if it can come with this. Normally, once I've set the budget, it should be able to call my flow action and provide me with some products. All right. Hmm. I'll tell it no more questions, but I'm afraid I didn't pick up the right topic. Normally at this point, if everything went well, we should have gone to the stage where it was going to call the get recommendations with my budget and preferences, but I guess something went wrong. Yeah, well, I'm not going to push it too much, but yeah, it's not going well. Let's see. Shopping assistant, yes. And normally here in the actions, you can see that it normally has access to the get recommendations action, which is our action, and it should be able to call it, but for some reason, I guess there's a bug in the reasoning. It did not call my action. All right, let me now quickly go back to questions. I saw there are a bunch of them in the chats. Let's see again. All right, let's go back. All right, first question, what's the difference between the config description and the system instructions? So the going back up, there is a description in the config. This is just for humans. This is just what you'll see in terms of user interface when you're in the Agentforce Studio. This is not something the agent uses for reasoning. However, what you have here, the system instructions here are being used by the agent. And by the way, I'll highlight this part. This can be dynamic. You can use expressions within those instructions if you need to. Now, this wouldn't work in this particular type of instruction because I've added double quotes, so it means it's a single line instruction without any template. But if I were to make it dynamic, I could do this, could do a line return, and use a multi-line set of instructions. So I could do this. I could edit my instructions like this. And that will be another way of specifying my instructions. Now, this caret again, this pipe symbol here means that we're talking about multi-line text. And if you want to use expressions, you need something else. You need this little arrow symbol here, which lets you add expressions. If you don't have this arrow symbol here in the block, you cannot use expressions. So here, for example, I could refer to a variable if I needed to. So I could pick, I don't know, the name of the customer, for example. I could dump this in the system instructions. I could do this, but only if I have my arrow symbol here will it work. If I don't have this arrow symbol, we're not going to interpret the strings for expressions. And obviously, the instructions will be refreshed as we move forward in the execution because the variables may be updated. So just rolling back to the original state. All right, save my agent. So that was a couple of questions. Let me go now and look at the next questions. Can we do this in Google Anti-Gravity? I don't think so. I mean, you have to have the agent script extensions for Visual Studio Code. I don't know if it's supported any other IDE at the moment. I guess in the future, this will be just a matter of APIs. So you could technically build your own user interface and your own extension if you needed to. Let's see. How will we invoke variables from a flow? Well, that is a good question because that's what we're supposed to do in the preview of the agent. By the way, let me stop the agent. So whenever you call an action, you can tell the agent to specify the value of the parameter, like the item name here and the price. These are two input variables of my agents, of my flow. Sorry, I mean of my action. So item name here matches. What's interesting, the order of the definitions have changed. Okay, Previously the actions were below, but that's the order doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. So inputs, item name and price are both input variables of my flow, and the way I've specified their values is by using these three little dots here, which basically tells the agent to input whatever it feels it should input. And if we want, we can also force the values, like here we do with a variable budget. We can refer to a specific variable. This is kind of identical to what you could do with the previous builder experience. You could you could force assign a variable to an input for an agent action. That's kind of the same. When you leave the agent do it, you just put three little dots, and then when you want to force a value, you just use this variable annotation here. Now, let's see if there are no more questions. So when we have a card total that exceeds the message, when we have this, when we have the card total that exceeds, when we have the card total that exceeds the maximum, we haven't told the agent specifically to tell the users to do that, but it will figure out on its own that it needs to call it out. We could be more prescriptive, and we could add extra instructions in there if we wanted to make sure that it does appear all the time. Another good question, does Agentforce Vibe support AgentScript? I will say yes, it can try to figure it out, but it's not going to be very good for now because it still needs to find a lot of training data. So for now, Agentforce Vibes has access to the basic documentation, the website, and soon it's going to be able also to train on AgentScript recipes. And if you leave it a bit of time, probably a month or so, it'll get better and better and will work with AgentScript. For now, it's just going to be probably doing a lot of hallucinations when you ask it to work with those scripts. But it'll get better with time, and there's no reason why it wouldn't support AgentScripts. It's just a matter of training. All right. Okay, there are some very specific things. All right, I think I need to explain again why there are two action sections and why the names are identical. So the actions that are referred to here in actions are actions that can be used within the instructions. So here I'll use a different name if it makes more sense. I'll change a bit. Sorry, my oops, no, not it. This here points to the I'll call it instance. It will make more sense if I do that. So let's call these two instances, and you can refer to those instances within the instructions. The other thing here are definitions. So I'm going to name it definition so that you understand which one is which one. And I'll just rearrange a bit my my blocks here, but I don't know why these moved up. I guess I edited something, so I'm going to move them down there so that you can see them side by side. So let's go back. Oops. Here. There we go. So I guess, let's see, I think I did something wrong. Yes, my names don't match, so I need to add both definitions there. This here is the definition of my action, and this is the definition of my action. All right. Oh, yep. Definition. Okay, I think I did something wrong. There we go. Cool. Okay, so action add to cart definition is here. This is the instance, and this is the definition, which is below. All right. Normally here, I think I did something wrong. Let's see. So the instance is the name we can use in the instructions, and the definition is what maps to the flow or to the Apex code. So that's why I've named them definition in here. And these two map together. And when you have the instance, you basically define the values that are set to the inputs. And the definition holds the list of inputs and outputs plus the target. So here again, we'll support the same targets. For now, we only work with, I think we only work with flows in Apex, but obviously we'll have the same targets as we have in the previous builder, so all the other targets. I think I did something wrong with my changes. I guess I kind of broke my script here. Get recommendation at the card definition, get recommendations. Yes, it seems weird. I don't know why did I? Well, anyways, I think you get the point. Yes, there's documentation. So I'll share again. I think it's about time I shared again. These are the resources. Oops, sorry, not this one. This one. These are. This is a trail mix with all the resources, including the documentation that points to the syntax, where you can find all the documentation. Yes, thanks, Nathan. That's also good. And yes, you can chain actions. So I'm going to stop for now for the expression, and I'm going to show you some more powerful things. We saw really some basic examples, but we have way more powerful things you can do with actions. So here, moving on to another agent, the action callbacks. The action callbacks shows you how you can do action callbacks. So you have the ability to chain actions. So here we have another action block. We call a first action. We actually do more than that. We have a first action being called, that is to process a payment. Once the action returns, we set some variables with the output of our action. The output here, outputs refer to the previous action output. And then we call another action. So this is still within the bound of this make payment action. So we call a first action called process payment. Then we call a second action called send receipt, and then another one called award points, and then another one called log transaction. So here you can see how we're chaining multiple actions. And again, what makes the difference is the indentation. These are all chained with indentation. These are these are all like linear, but you can do this, and what you can do is also add conditions. So here, these are just chained one after the other, but you can also introduce some conditions to basically say, okay, only execute action number 2 if this particular variable is between this range and this range, or only call this other action if this other value is available. That's the logic you can put when you chain actions, and you can obviously do that with a lot of actions. There was a question, can we use the same actions for multiple agents? Well, the action definitions are going to be at the topic level, but you can pretty much link to the same action definition in multiple agents. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing that prevents you from reusing your flow here in multiple topics and multiple agents, for example. That's perfectly fine. So that's another really cool thing you can do. This logic, I mean, not logic, but this chaining of actions, that's not something you can do reliably with the old builder. In the old builder, you could try to have some instructions to talk to the agent and ask it to do the action in a particular order, but it wouldn't always behave, and you couldn't really have some logic between the different actions. Here, it can follow these actions and chain them really in a really efficient manner. I cannot comment yet on the cost in terms of credit for these execution, because this is still work in progress. So I don't exactly know what's the plan in terms of credit consumption, whether these will be all treated as a single execution. I believe it will be, but I mean, I don't want to make any bets yet on the beta, because I think things are still in flux at the moment. All right, so let's continue with some examples. I see that time is running out, so I want to show you a couple more examples. There are certain keywords that we haven't seen so far, the before and after reasoning. I mentioned that there are multiple hooks, lifecycle hooks that you can use in your agent conversations. You have those like here, the before reasoning, and the reasoning. In the before reasoning, you can pre-execute certain actions. So here, before the agent actually talks to you, it can run a number of things like setting up variables, having some conditions, running some actions, capturing the output of those actions, and doing all these things before it will talk to you, because it will start to provide an answer when it goes to reasoning. And reasoning, it will follow the instructions, and it will give you feedback based on what it got in terms of instructions. So what you can do is just before reasoning blocks to call actions to pre-initialize your reasoning variables, and you can use those variables within your instructions to make things more dynamic. You also have access to another block called after reasoning, which will let you run things after the reasoning is complete. So for example, here is an example that logs something. Obviously, you want to do things that are more powerful than this. But these are two lifecycle hooks which are very powerful but did not exist in the previous experience. Then there are a lot more other things. I think I'll let you discover all of this when you explore agent script recipes. This is just a basic subset of recipes. There are only 17 for now, but if you look at our GitHub repository, you'll notice that we have a whole set of additional recipes that are not yet ready. These are located in a future recipes folder. Don't try them out yet. They're not ready, so we need to polish them. The agent script syntax has evolved, so some things are broken in there. Don't try them out. Focus only on the main folder for now. We'll update them, and we'll move those draft recipes from future to main as things move up. And I think that's it. That's really what I wanted to cover today. I know there are a lot of questions still. I'm going to try to go with one last round of answering questions. I'm sorry in advance if I can't answer everything. I'll try my best. So there's the first question: how do you roll back actions if one action in the chain fails? So for now, there's no rollback strategy. If there is a fatal error, like for example, if you're calling Apex and there is a limits exception or something fatal, there won't be any rollout. The agent will take over and provide you with the designated error message, the one you specified in your system block, the error message here. I can imagine that in the future we'll have some logic to handle errors a bit better. There is, by the way, a recipe which is dedicated to this, the error handling recipe. I don't think it's fully functional yet, so we'll have to fix it at some point, I guess. So there might be additional lifecycle hooks that'll let us handle this, but for now, it's not something that can catch Apex errors or flow errors for now. Another question: can we reuse topics across multiple agents? No, you can easily copy them. That's at least the benefit of AgentScript. You can copy paste code around, but you cannot have shared topics easily. That's something that changed a bit between the previous experience and the new one. In the previous experience, topics were kind of their own metadata, although things could get really messy if you are reusing topics across multiple agents, because the agents will be creating some sort of instances of the topic definition. So in our case, with the new builder, no, it's just a matter of copying a block of text. All right, let's see. Can we specify the order of execution on the actions? Well, yes, that's the whole logic. That's what we saw in the in Visual Studio Code. The order of the action is precisely the one that is being described in the code. So think of it as code, really. If you see that you run this one first, and then you run this one after, depending on logic, obviously, but that's really the way they're defined. The order is known beforehand. This is more deterministic, and that's pretty cool, I think. Let's see. I'm gonna go over YouTube. I see that there might be also some questions here. So yes, I mentioned you can use the same actions across multiple topics, but you do need to redefine them. You can still use the same flow and the same Apex bits, but at least it's fairly easy to copy them around. Can we set the model for for agent and script. So we cannot specify the LLM used by the agent at the moment. I believe this will come. There are a lot of configuration elements, and that's at the level of, I think, of system. You can specify things like language. You can specify things like that. I would assume that at some point we will also expose other things like yeah, like for example the LLM. For now, you can specify things like the language, locale, and things like that. And just like the previous agent, you will be able likely in the future to specify also the LLM being used by the agents. All right, another question: will CI/CD be easier now? Well, I don't know if it's going to be easier. The metadata is going to be a bit different, so it's going to be only one block of metadata holding everything together. So it's going to be easy to deploy. At least you won't have to deal with multiple metadata elements like the action definition, the topic definition. All that will be in a single file. You'll still be testing those agents with a metadata type that works with the testing center. So I guess it's gonna be a bit easier because you have fewer elements to deploy. The only downside that I see with those agent scripts is that they are gonna get pretty big. Someone mentioned that earlier in the chat. The more actions you add, the more logic you add, it's gonna be a big text file. So I can imagine at some point you'll have to be careful when you do revision control, when you have merge and multiple people collaborating on an agent. You'll have to be careful about that. All right. Another question. Can we use any of the topics and actions defined in Agentforce assets? No, these are the old ones. These are not the same for the new agent. Specifically, the agent structure is different, so you can't reuse the topics. However, the actions are the same. You do not need an action definition anymore. So you can directly skip the action definition, and I think it's a huge win. You don't have to go in Agentforce assets and create an action definition. You just simply have to create your own definition within the agent script part. So that's something we saw earlier. You just have to go and create your own definition within the text. So this here is the same as going into Agentforce assets and clicking around 10 times. I think it's way easier to do. So that's at least one positive aspect I see with the new structure. You don't have to go and click so much around. Can we have rich text response from the agent? I haven't tested this yet. I would assume it can have basic rich text, but it doesn't support everything that the old agent supports. So for example, for now, it doesn't support custom lightning types. So for those of you who don't know what custom lightning types are, it's a way to put Lightning Web Components within an agent conversation. And I don't think the new agent type supports this just yet. It will come, but remember, we're still in beta, so not everything is ready for now. Yes, another question. You can use the AI assistant to generate the agents with prompt with text. So when you create a new agent, that's something I didn't show, but when you create a new agent, you can do this in several ways. Obviously, you can create a script. You can go with this new agent button here, which will give you the text, the prompt-based interface to describe what you want your agent to do, and then you can iterate with the assistant. Or you can also start from a script. So if you have already your agent script file, you can go from a script file. Obviously, if you have also your script file, you can do a metadata deploy as well from Visual Studio Code. And if you want to go with a more, let's say, declarative approach, you can continue to edit your agent with the assistant. Here you can tell it, I want to add a new topic that does X, Y, and Z, and the agent will propose revisions. You can accept or reject the proposed change of the agent. Right. That's it. We've reached the hour, so that was intense. That was a lot of content. I'm going to show you again once more the resources QR code. This points to a trail mix, which contains links to the documentation, to all the different resources that we covered today. I hope you've all learned quite a few things today. And I really look forward to seeing you again in 2026. This was the last codeLive of the year. We'll have one in January, as always. And yeah, so keep your eyes on the spring release and on the future patches. I have this feature in particular is evolving fast, so we're adding a lot more cool things in there. We'll also continue to work with the recipes. My team is hard at work on delivering those missing recipes and making sure they work well. So we'll see that. Thanks again, and have a good rest of your day wherever you are in the world, and see you in the next Code Live. Thanks, everyone.